everybody, John here. Glad to see you. You know, we had such a great response for our first As You Were Growing Up. Here's number 2 in the series, and I hope that this number 2 doesn't stink. Now, we are at the corner of 13 and Ryan in a strip mall that had absolutely no name, but it was very, very important. Why? Because on this side, we had Great Scots, and that turned out to be a Salem Square supermarket, and then a waterbed gallery. That worked out well, and now it's some kind of cake place. However, starting from the corner, we had Deacon's restaurant, and they made sub sandwiches. Now, when you're a kid, what's a sub? You know, it's like Yellow Submarine, like Beatles work there or something? We don't know. And then next to that, Stroh's Ice Cream Parlor. Now, if you're on any kind of baseball team or football team at the time, you went there, and they opened up the little glass thing, gave you a couple of scoops. If you're really cool, you got Superman ice cream, and that was all different colors, all different flavors on one cone. Woohoo! I mean, all the kids would be lined up forever, and while you were there, you could take a look at the penny candy. You could get something called a Zot. That was real good. Put it in your mouth, watch it dissolve, and all of a sudden, what is that? Or, it must be something with mouths back in the day. You had this stuff called Pop Rocks, where you'd put it in your mouth and you'd wait, and all of a sudden they'd like make little explosions in your mouth. And if you had it with Diet Mountain Dew, you're supposed to get high. Like, that really worked. Behind me is Ryan Road. Anything that you needed was on Ryan Road. It was kind of like our Woodward around here. Right behind me now is some Metro place, but that was the famous Club Chevelle. Woohoo! If you're a mover and shaker around here, your parents went to Club Chevelle. I mean, how can you miss? Named after a fine Chevrolet. Except for nobody said anything about the place, and so it had this air of mystery more than, say, going to the Wish-You-Well. But when you got old enough and you went in there, you found out it was just a dive. It wasn't all that great. And next to that, well, you can see the big gap there. There used to be a place called Quick Pick. Now, Quick Pick was kind of like a 7-Eleven. You'd walk in there and it'd smell a whole lot like Spick and Span, but it was the first place where you could get the brand new baseball cards, the Top Series, and the Monkees cards, Monkey trading cards for obviously the music group Monkees, and it came with banana flavored bubblegum. After about 3 of those, you're heaving your guts out. We're on Cunningham right now between Anna and Parent right now, and behind me, perhaps you don't recognize it anymore, but this used to be the best place to get into Walker Woods. Now, there used to be like a really huge elevation, and when you got there, you were treated to 3 different ways that you could go. Now, we used to ride our bikes here all the time, going to Butcher every single day, and it was wonderful to be able to drive, or to ride, your bike to school with all the trees going past you and that smell of the forest and stuff. And there was a couple of trails that you could be a big BMX kind of guy, and there was a couple of trails that you could go really, really fast on. If you're really lucky as a junior high school boy, sometimes you would see a picture from Playboy there. However, inside of there, they always had like, look out, there's supposed to be like the 12 Mile Brothers and some kind of motorcycle gang and some kind of spooky kind of people, but you always saw like fire pits, and we never saw anything bad there, and clearly you never went there during the night and stuff, but it was a wonderful, wonderful woods, and unfortunately it was knocked down for some condos. Like, that's what we need more of. I'm standing kind of like knee-high in the grass in front of the former Butcher Junior High School. Now, evidently, it's not a junior high school anymore, clearly, and I don't think they really care much about the place. It's some kind of service center now. I don't know maybe what you get serviced here, but this where, if you were a Hesse child or somebody that went from Weber or from South, this is where we all met from 1970 to 1973. Now, this is where we got to see that there was just more kids than that was in your school, and it was a wonderful melting pot. This is also a place where we kind of grew up one more time. I mean, this is a place where we had 2 gym teachers, and we had Mr. Dalinar, and he would tell us all about what was expected out of a 7th grade male here. And we had uniforms for the first time in gym. We had to wear a white shirt that said Warren Consolidated Schools, and they had a little open box there, so I guess you're supposed to put your name in there. You also had to have white socks, jocks, and gym shorts. Now, explain to all of us 6th grader boys, or 7th grade boys, what's a jock? And then it was like, wait. We gotta wear this thing that doesn't cover, and no, I'm not liking this junior high school stuff very much. However, if you ever got into a dodgeball game against Kelfis or Bill Eisenbender or even Polipchuk, you know the reason why you had to wear one. Part 2 of the show, and this is a wonderful thing, is that they had a thing in 9th grade. It was called social dancing. And now for a whole month, we got to stand on one side, the guys, women on the other side of the gym. They had a Le Mans kind of start, and then Mr. Hack would blow the whistle, boom, and you had to run like crazy over to the other side, hurry up, pick some kind of unsuspecting girl, and it's like, hi, you want to be awkward with me for an hour? And then we had to do like the tango and the cha-cha. I mean, we never got a chance to do the polka or anything. Yeah, that was real comfortable, big time. However, it was a very cool school, and we had a whole lot of fun at this place. I'm on the corner of Martin and Cosgrove right now. We're at Butcher Park. Now, when we were in junior high school, they kind of made this empty area a park where you could picnic. And somehow in the early 70s, mid 70s, Warren went crazy with putting tennis courts everywhere. Anywhere they could shoehorn a tennis court, they did. There's some tennis courts over to that side. I think everybody picked up a racket for about 2 days and go, that's kind of dumb. Mostly people played street hockey there afterward. But behind us, clearly, you can see picnic tables, and I don't know anybody who goes to here to have a picnic, but it was a wonderful place where we could all come together, and after school, and especially after high school, we can park here and just hang out. It was a wonderful place. We're on the corner of Martin and Milton right now, and if you grew up as a Penguin K through 6, you knew that you went to South School, South Elementary, which was one of the very first elementary schools around here, and probably when you went there, South School was really old at the time. Now you can see behind me, they knocked it down, unfortunately, after in the 80s, and became houses for a bunch of lucky people. But South School had so many kids in there, they had so many really good baseball diamonds, kickball diamonds, maybe you played on one or two. And then if you did go to South School, you were lucky enough just to be able to go to Butcher right across the street. Another little fun fact is that Milton, south of Martin for a very, very, very long time, was a dirt road and had loud cars going by just like that. And on the other side of Martin had John John's. Wee-hoo! You were so lucky to live in this neighborhood. Perhaps you can help us out here on this mystery. We're on the corner of 11 Mile and Ryan right now. This used to be the home of Fairlane Drugs, and if you're a Crusaders of Warren, you know that'd be Fairlane Drugs. But next to it was a Minnesota Fabrics or a Joanne Fabrics or some kind of fabric store. Now the big controversy is, was it a grocery store before it was a fabric place? If you grew up around here, could you help us out with that one? Because there's really no information to figure it out either way. Here's a twofer for you. Kind of fun. This back here on the corner of 12 Mile and Ryan, actually just a little bit north of 12, this is the very first 7-Eleven that was around this neighborhood. Now, what's a 7-Eleven? People that gamble? No, they had Slurpees. What's a Slurpee? Well, you didn't know either, so they gave away little cups for the first 4 days that they were open. Well, they weren't open very long, and then it was dormant for a little while, and then it became Omar's Tent. Now, Omar's Tent was a notorious arcade around here. It had black light only, a lot of pinball games, and a lot of smoke came out of it. And I don't think people were smoking cigarettes. If you went to Omar's Tent, wow, that was just like getting into the inner circle. And right next to it is the Golden Crust Bakery, who's been here since, oh my gosh, early 70s. Now, Mark Shakin and I have figured out when we were at Mott that you could actually get here for lunch, walk here to lunch, get a big donut and an orange crush, and make it back to Mott just in time to have 3 more hours of schooling just sugar rushed out of your brain. We were standing in the parking lot of John John's. Now you probably don't recognize it because they try to build onto it and there's a lot of legal back and forth and it's been shut down for a couple of years. However, growing up, when you'd go down Mound Road, you'd see John John's, and on the side it said businessmen's lunches. And as you know, a kid growing up in Warren, you go, well, there's GM and there's a tech center and there's a lot of businessmen, so they have to have lunches somewhere. This is good as any. And then Wayne Packman hipped me to what was really going on there, and it was like, how do we become businessmen? We're at 10 Mile and Ryan right now, a little bit north of 10 Mile. Where CVS is right now used to be a place called Town Club Pop. Now, Town Club Pop used to make and bottle their own pop. In front, there used to be huge glass windows. That's huge glass windows. Where you could watch the bottles move and see them fill them and cap them and stuff like that. For $1.99, you could get a wooden crate of glass bottles and drink to your little heart's content. Now, they used to have like knockoff names. Instead of 7-Up, they had Bubble Up, whatever. However, drinking Town Club was a whole lot better than drinking Kool-Aid, we thought at the time, and they made for great mixers. Oh, it's brilliant. However, there wasn't probably a basement in Warren that didn't have 2 cases of empties sitting in a corner somewhere just with 2 inches of dust. And as a little side note, on the other side there used to be a produce place called Curly's. It was huge, and unfortunately now, just a parking lot. We are standing in front of the notorious GM Tech Center Proving Grounds. Now it's open for commercial development. However, over here was Hesse, and if you were a Hesse kid whatsoever, it was ground into you, never ever, but never go into GM. Now the fence used to be 28 foot high with razor wire. Well, that's what it looked like when you were a 3rd grader. However, it was your standard 10-foot fence with a little bit of the ouchies up on the top thing. Once we figured out what you could go in there, people had forts and people, you know, you'd always see deers in there, but then found out there was nothing more but a couple of baseball diamonds and a little test track where they'd drive the new cars around, and that was it. But man, if you'd go in there, whoo, your eyes would fall out of your head and you'd lose limbs. Never go into GM Tech Center, or into the GM Proving Grounds. Now here's another little fun fact for you. In the early 70s, they found out closer to 13 and Ryan, or 13 and Mound, in the Tech Center grounds that you couldn't go into, somebody had the great idea to put a lot of marijuana seeds around. Now, in a couple of years, as far as the eye could see, it was nothing but weed. Nothing but weed. And so, as you know, some friends would, not me, because with my youngest behind the camera, you know, but you would go over the fence with like hefty garbage bags and start harvesting, and it's like, oh my God, we're rich. However, the 7th grade, 8th grade version of you didn't know the difference between male plant and female plant when it came to weed. And you could smoke that whole garbage bag full of weed and probably not even get a contact buzz. But it was kind of cool to say. Now, we've taken you to a lot of places that you probably haven't seen in a very long time. However, they brought back an oh yeah memory, or probably a lot of good memories, and that's what we're doing with the 35-year reunion this year. Now, it's at Stony Creek. It's at Winter Cove A, June 11th. All you have to do is bring a dish to pass, bring you, ta-da! That's all you gotta do. Now, if you think you had great memories of the stuff we just saw, just think when you get to talk to people, it's even more fun.